And welcome back, everyone. It's me, Falynn. We just had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're going to try this again. I'm going to be talking with Lori Lococo, who's up for re-election in the Niagara Falls race that will be going on in October 2022. So we're just waiting till she comes on and invites, and then we're going to have a chat with Lori. So if you're just tuning in, we did have some technical difficulties, but the show must go on. You should be seeing Lori's face pop up. And hi, Lori.
Hi, Falynn, again.
We had some technical difficulties, but that's okay because you're back.
Yes, I'm back. Not sure what happened, but here I am.
So for anyone that's just tuning in, I would like to introduce to you Lori Lococo. She is running for re-election for City Council. This would be her second term if she wins. Hi, Lori. How are you?
Hi, Falynn. I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I really think it's important that we have people know about what it's like to be on the City Council, first off, because you have that experience, and also what it's like to run for office. So I know we did talk a bit about why you wanted to be a City Council, but let's see if we can just briefly discuss that again. Have you always wanted to be in politics, or is this something that just kind of happened?
I don't consider myself a politician. I've never wanted to be in politics. I always like serving.
You have told me that before.
Yeah. Yes, I've always been involved in nonprofits and helping out wherever I can. And when I was on Toastmasters International as an international director, I was serving the international board. And when I finished that, I thought, what could I do? I decided to serve my own community at a local level instead of an international level. So not so much a politician, but wanting to serve and help people.
Wanting to serve and make a difference.
Yes.
So I can see that, not wanting to. I mean, politicians are politicians, right? People have their thoughts about, the type of person a politician is. And I really do think, just since I've known you and what I've done in Niagara Falls, you really are in it for the right reasons. And I can't speak for everybody, but I would say, could you agree with that? Would you say this is kind of a calling to you more so than a job?
I've always been a person that's been a connector. I know a lot of people, and I can connect people and connect resources. And because of that, we tend to help people. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people. There's a lot of things that we can assist in or make things better, connecting with people to find out what's working well, what's not, and those are the things that I really thrive in.
Okay. So I have a list of questions. Some of the questions actually came from community members, so I mixed them in with the things that I wanted to talk to you about. And one thing that I want to let everybody know, so we just started a diversity and inclusion group with the city. So one of the questions I want to kind of talk to you about is just diversity. So when I say the word diversity to you, what comes to your mind thinking about the City Council in Niagara Falls and what you'd like to do?
When I hear the word diversity, I think about a table and many people sitting at the table, and they have diverse age, whether that's senior or young people, middle-aged people, different colors, different backgrounds, different experiences, different ages, different religions. Whatever the case is, it's having those people sit at the table. If you have all of the same people sitting at the table, we tend to think all the same way. And in a committee or city council, you really don't want that. You don't want all the same type of people. So having a diverse city council or diverse committee or working towards diversity and inclusion, to me, it means having those people at the seat of the table so they can make those decisions for our community, because we're not all one of anything. We have to have all of those diverse people sitting at the table.
I absolutely agree with you on that. I believe I have friends that are from Toronto and the GTA, and one thing that's important to them, as well as it should be important to Niagara, is to have your city council reflect your community. And if everybody in the city council only looks like one part of the community, it's not going to work for everyone. It's only going to work for that part.
Exactly.
So What are your thoughts and what advice can you give? I was going to talk about this at the end, but I really want to like drive home how important it is to have a diverse city council. What like can you give any advice to anybody like that is in a some different people that want to get involved? Can you give them any advice about running?
There's lots of things that people can do to get involved, to get on city council. Because we're in that large system, we take the top 8 people out of however many people are running. It's not like you're running in wards. So you could be running up against 30 or more people and they take 8 seats. So what I would suggest is find committees that you can serve on, learn more about the community, hone your skills, then people can see who you are and what's important to you, that sort of thing. Work on committees. There are some city committees that after the election, the committees will be posted and we'll be looking for committee members. So it's really important that if you are thinking about possibly running maybe in the next term, get out there and see how you can help now, get on those committees. Make sure that you as a person are not only doing that one thing, that you're not with always the same people, the same type of people. Open up, learn, educate yourself, go to different events, go to different churches, mosques, connect with different people that are different from you, whatever that is. And that's how you're going to learn, and then that's how you're going to be diverse. With city council, we don't really have control about being diverse. So what we have to do is encourage people to run. And once we encourage enough people to run, then hopefully we'll get more diverse people on city council.
Well, I honestly like that advice couldn't be any better. I think there are people that want to make a change, but they're nervous that maybe they won't do it right or they won't fit in. I know you and Carolyn Ione are the two that sit there now, the only females on the city council. I know as of right now, you are the only woman that is, I think when I looked, you were the only woman and up for re-election, but the only woman trying right now to get in for the
Correct.
for the race.
Yes.
So I think it's important that people know that you can get into it. Do you have what kind of experience did you have as far as politics? I know you say you're not a politician, but were you involved? Did you like watching that kind of stuff? Was that really important to you?
I was involved in a lot of nonprofits like Project Share, the Soup Kitchen, and politics tend to follow nonprofit organizations because realistically they get funding, the residents are using the services. So it's always been important to me from that aspect. And that's how I got some experience and some skills, is by serving on those types of boards. And I think it's important for people, if you've never served on a board, go serve on a board, something that's familiar to you or something that you enjoy doing, or take that step of something completely different. It's really important that we hone the skills that we have, but we're always willing to learn. And it's all about perspective. It's like that seat at the table. If there's a whole bunch of different types of people at the table, there's different perspectives.
Yes, seat at the table is a good way to get in there and kind of see what is going on and learn things that you had no idea about your city.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to the questions. What has been the most important lesson that you have learned during the term that you are in right now?
I think I learned it a little bit when I was international director, but so much more as a city councillor. I think for me, it's about, you always hear there's two sides to every story. I think in politics and being a politician, there's more than 2 sides to every story. There might be 4 or 5. You have four neighbors in the neighborhood, and they all have different perspectives. And what I really learned is to listen to all of those different perspectives, understand what's going on, educate myself, and try to make the best decision. Someone's not going to be happy with the decision, but hopefully they will respect that I've done my homework, I've listened to them, I respected them and the issue at the time, and try to make the decision. So for me, the best thing that I've learned, the most important thing, is the many different perspectives.
Exactly. And you can't please everyone. And you know that. There's going to be people that, you can do no wrong in their eyes. And then there's going to be other people that are scrutinizing your every move. I think in politics, that's just something you deal with. what is one thing about being on council that you look forward to with the re-election, the new challenges and things? What type of things do you look forward to if you were in to do a second term?
If I was so fortunate to get a second term to be elected again, I think I would like to continue on with some of the issues and the projects that we've started. Some of them we haven't been able to wrap up. Some of them are more important now than ever. Affordable housing, homelessness,
Yes, housing.
addictions. Those are some things. The environment, sustainable development. Those are always ongoing things. And I've learned so much in this last almost 4 years, and I'm hoping to use that education and skill to move forward. There's always things to learn. Things change. There's new information out. There's new perspective. So I would like to.
We're in an ever-changing world, right? Things change.
Yes. Yes, so I'd like to continue on with those, and there's always going to be new challenges, new thoughts, new ideas, and I'm just there to serve the residents and be their voice.
Well, that's really good to hear. I'm going to go to the chat, if that's okay, Lori. We're gonna.
Sure.
Ari Wilkins says, in his opinion, I think Lori is an amazing council member, does her homework, brings honesty back to the horseshoe. That is a big statement, and I honestly, just from what I know, that's very true. And I know that we're talking about the re-election, but I think it's important to talk about the 4 years that you've already been putting in. Like, I mean, I've come to you with issues. I know other people that have come to you with issues, and you get right to it. And to me, like, that makes your job almost a 24/7 job, because you're always kind of open to the people. So with your re-election, do you think that the connections that you've made and the people that you helped, do you really think that that can really help you in this election and help you, give you the edge that you need to win?
Communication, elections, it's all about people. It's about the connections that you make with people.
Mm-hmm.
Those 4 years that I went to all of the council meetings, the 4 years that I connected with people, that campaigning, the other roles that I played within the community, sitting on boards, you make those connections with people. And someone told me a really nice thing. You need multiple touches to connect with people. And people need to get to know you, get to like you, and get to trust you. And they can't do that with just one communication. So the more and more you deal with someone, they follow those, get to know you, get to like you, and get to trust you. And I think from the connections that I've made, maybe they don't agree with the decisions that I'm voting for, or maybe the topics or the issues that I'm bringing up, but I hope that they at least respect me for the homework that I do, the connections that I have with people, and looking at the whole issues and not favoring one group over another, but trying to make the best decision for all of the residents.
That's a really good answer. And honestly, I feel like I've interviewed a lot of people, not really many people in the government, but when you talk to somebody, you can tell when they feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Driven, called to do something, supposed to be in the spot that they're in. I think having you sit in the Niagara Falls for 22 to 26 is going to be really important, because there's a lot of things that have been changing in our city, and we need to keep that going. We need that momentum to keep going. So we need somebody that is open to all different things. And I want to say, like, that you're one person that I know is really for the best of Niagara. I'm going to go back to a question. All right, so we talked about skills. We've been talking about how important skills are. Could you comment on one skill or leadership trait that has helped you serve the people in Niagara?
Thanks, Falynn. I think it's more of a leadership trait. One thing that I learned very early on was, when a resident contacts you, the issue that they're talking to you about is very important to them. It might not be important to you at the time, because maybe you're thinking, oh, we have these bigger things to deal with. We have this huge budget. We have our strategic priorities. I changed my way of thinking. We have all of those things. We have strategic planning. We have all of these timely things, but I would put those aside. And what I tried to do is focus on the resident at the moment. If it's important to them, it's important to me. I try to shut other things out. I will turn my phone off. I try not to answer it when I'm with people. I will not be looking at my phone.
You have to do that. There has to be boundaries for you too to be able to do your job.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, when I'm talking with a resident, I don't want to be interrupted by other people because I want the resident to feel that they're getting my full attention and that I'm with them at that moment. Whether it's going through an issue, coming up with new ideas, I really try to focus on the resident at that point and then continue on, turn the phone back on when I'm finished, that sort of thing. But you know, you bring up a good point. Being a city councillor is 24/7. I would find that if someone's working 9 to 5, they don't have time to contact you during 9 to 5. They contact you after 5 o'clock. So maybe I've worked all day, worked in the morning, worked in the evening, in the afternoon, and then all of a sudden someone's contacting. That's the time that they have available, so I have to make myself available. But on the flip side, sometimes I do draw a line and say, you know, I'm not going to look at emails for a few hours. I'm going to focus on a few other things.
Well, you can only do so much, and if your cup is empty, you're not going to be able to pour anything out to help anyone else.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go back to the chat. We've got Lori here, or no, Sherry, you're Lori, sorry, Sherry. What I love about Lori is that she makes sure the community is informed and have a chance to voice their opinion. She truly is the voice of the people. And I would definitely agree with that as well. Thank you, Sherry. What does it feel like hearing that you are a voice of people? Because I'm guessing that's your goal. One of them.
Thank you, Sherry. I do appreciate that comment. It's interesting. We talk about the people at the table. If you have all of the same type of people, you're going to have the same type of issues. So I do think that I did bring a different perspective than some of the counselors at our table. If you have a bunch of business people, you'll have business ideas and business issues and business concerns. If you have someone who is maybe in a nonprofit sector, you'll have different views on different things. If you have someone who's in social services, maybe about affordable housing, addiction, they will have different ideas. So the way I look at it is I'm bringing a different voice than some of the counselors that we have at the table. And that voice is a number of our residents. If we were all talking about the same things, we wouldn't be working with our community. So it's important that it is a different voice. And I do think that I have that opportunity to bring the voice. So it's indicative of what else is going on in the community.
I have a question, one that I thought about earlier. And I know that I just popping this on you, but if you are the only woman going into the next re-election, does that change how you feel about it? Or are you still as inspired and driven to do this if you're going to go in there and be the only woman? If that happens, I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I'm going to do my best to let other people know, women, men, you know, from different backgrounds. And I think it's important that we have a council that reflects the community. But if you can answer that question.
Thanks, Falynn. Statistically, there are usually less women than men in politics. That's a statistic all across Canada, Ontario, the Niagara region. There are less. I hope that there are more women in the next election. If there's not, I would be one person at the table with a different focus, a different perspective. But I'm willing to work with anyone, no matter what their background is, what their age, their gender, their religion. It doesn't really matter to me. I will work together to work towards a common goal. Maybe they're different issues or different concerns that I would be bringing up, but that doesn't make them any less or more important than the person sitting beside me, no matter what the gender is.
Okay. So obviously, if there were more women, it would be a little bit easier to balance things out. But how is it working with mostly men? That you've already, like, this is what you've done. You and Carolyn have done the last 4 years. Has it been a lot more challenging only having one other woman?
I think it's proven that men and women think about things differently. We have different skills, or we lean towards certain skills more than another. It's not a clear cut, yes, this is one gender and this is another gender. We tend to lead to different emotions, different ways of doing things, different skills, different likes, different dislikes. And as a woman, I find that women lead more empathetically, more sympathetically, and sometimes we have more concerns and issues with daycare and those types of things than maybe a man would. I'm not saying that men don't have those issues
No,
or
but we have
lead that
different
way.
concerns. We have, yeah, there
Yes,
are different concerns for women versus men for sure.
yes, and women tend to maybe move more to the social issues because of that
Yes.
empathy and that sympathy. So, you know, it's important to have that at the table, and it's important to have other types of leadership at the table.
I think it is important too. I agree. What is your approach if you are handling controversial, complicated issues, whether it be in the city um, or even on your own council? What types of things have you done? And in the future, what types of things will you do to deal with that type of thing?
Whenever an issue comes up, whether it's controversial or not, I tend to follow the same process, let's say. The first thing I do is I read the staff report that is given to us if it's an issue coming up on council. I read the staff report, and I always realize that that is one perspective, one facet of what's going on. And then I try to do more homework. I talk to residents. I talk to different people in other communities. What are other communities doing? What did they already deal with the issue? What were the pros? What were the cons? What were the feedback? I try to do as much homework as I can. And I always believe if you do your homework, look through your resources, at least you'll get some sort of education on the topic, because we can't know everything. You know, that there's just so much going on in the city, whether it's municipal works, whether it's parks and recreation, whether it's bylaw enforcement. There's just so much out there. So we rely on our staff, but I don't stop there. I will keep on doing additional homework and look through different resources. If it is controversial, well, I'll just step back. Before that, I usually read my agenda once, I put it aside, and then I bring it up again and read through it again, because there's so much. Looking at an agenda for a city council meeting, it could be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 pages. And I read all of it to try to understand it. Put it aside, go back through it, bring it up again. And if it's a controversial issue, let's say the cannabis, growing of cannabis in our community, that was a very controversial issue. That affects people in their homes. That affects people in commercial buildings. That affects people's businesses. It is very controversial. It affects people, their medical condition. It affects their livability in their backyard. It affects a lot of things. So that was a very controversial issue. And I really tried to look at it from all different angles, look at all the different perspectives. And when it came time for us to vote, we were given a proposal of, here is the proposal, and there was like 7 different items within the proposal. And I could see from the councillors, you couldn't really agree on a proposal that had 7 things. You might have agreed with
Yes.
A, but not agreed with B. You might have agreed with C. So I suggested that we break them down. Instead of doing all 7 yes or all 7 no, we broke them all down, and then we voted yes or no on A, yes or no on B. So that's how I approach things. And just do your homework, talk to people,
Yes,
understand.
do your homework. It
Yes.
seems like with a lot of the things that you deal with, you know them inside and out. You want to be well informed on what you're dealing with, and that is so important.
I really try. There's so much. There's just so much information. There's so much to learn. As I said, we have staff that have gone to university and college to get degrees and learn things. We as counselors can't know everything, but we rely on our staff to give us the reports. And then I always do extra resources and extra reading.
I think this is an important question. I want to know, um, what do you think that a city councilor's role in the city is? for
Okay.
anybody that's watching right now? What is that?
I think it's a couple of things. One, it's being their voice and being heard. I think a lot of residents just want to be heard, whether we can do something for them or not do something for them or get them the answer. One is being their voice and being heard. That's one. The other thing I think as a city councillor is being fiscally responsible, because we're using their money. If you own a home, you're paying taxes, we're using your money. If you are using water, you're a ratepayer, or if you're using some of our services, you're a ratepayer, we're using that money. So we need to be fiscally responsible for what we're providing to our residents. So first of all, being heard, being the voice, being fiscally responsible, and being accessible. We talked about sometimes it's a 24/7 job. Being accessible. Sometimes, you know, you might be stuck in a meeting all day and you don't get to your emails, but I think being accessible is really important and being approachable.
That's fair. We've got another question here, or actually it might just be a comment in the chat. Just let me check this out. All right, this is such an important election. We can only hope or pray that more than 37 or 38% of the people get out and vote. More ladies on council would be so great on this council. Thank you, Gary. I agree with you. I know Lori agrees with you. And let's hope that, you know, we can get more people out to vote, because that is so important. Even at our federal and provincial levels, we're not getting the amount of people that we need to vote to really balance things out. And I think it's important that people know who's running, and not just from what they read on the internet or hear from their friend, but to know firsthand who they're voting for.
A lot of times people will say that politics is not for them. I think that municipal politics is closer to them and affects them more than maybe other levels of government like the provincial or the federal. When you think about municipal politics, we're the ones that make decisions on your roads, your parks, your pools, your seniors programs, how much your water is going to be, how much your taxes are going to be, if we're going to provide an arts and culture building, if we're going to provide an arena, your transportation, as of right now, it will be amalgamated later, but your transportation.
We will talk about that in another interview.
Yes.
That is important. With inflation, we'll talk more about that, what's going on in the city. But yes, tune in. We are going to be talking to Lori again. Like I said, the vote is until October. We were talking about this earlier. Can we let everybody know what the deadline is to put their name in for the race?
Yes, the deadline is August the 19th at 2 p.m. People can file their nomination papers up until that day, and then the election is on October 24th. So August, a couple of days after August 19th, we'll know the full slate of over who's running, and I would encourage everyone to go on the city's website, look at all of the candidates. They will all be listed there. There might be names, there will be names, but email addresses, phone numbers, and websites. And it's important that as a resident, you go out and look at all of these candidates, connect with them, talk to them, read their material, what's important to them. The thing with municipal politics is, as Gary said, only 37, 38% of the people voted. That's a lot of people who didn't. And why didn't they? Did they not feel that they were getting heard? Is politics is not important to them? So it's really important that people go out, talk to people, understand what the issues are, let us know what's important to you. And that's going to be your homework between now and October 24th, is to go out and learn who the candidates are.
Are you okay if I, let people know that they can reach out to you if they're interested? Would you be okay with talking to anybody that's maybe considering it, but just isn't sure?
Yes, of course.
Why don't you tell people what your social media handles are so that they can follow you?
Oh, Falynn. I don't know the handles off the top of my head, but I'm on Facebook.
It's actually, you know what? I'm just going to get Sherry, if you can just write the Instagram and the Facebook for Lori Lococo for election, just so everybody can see that and follow. And you can reach out to me as well, because I'm connected with Lori, and I will let her know and get you in contact. Because if this is something that you've considered, maybe you've been thinking about it for years, maybe it's just something that's come to your mind, I think that's important. There's probably a reason that you're thinking about doing it. And I think it would just be amazing to see some new faces on the council and definitely see Lori's face again. We've got somebody else in the chat. Here we go. Tony Zamet, Lori, why in the world is a single electorate awarded the opportunity to vote for multiple candidates? With that in mind, why would we be allowed to vote the total amount of one candidate? Do you understand that question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
We're an at-large system, and we can put 8 people in to represent all of us. And in that at-large system, it's a provincial rule. It's not a Niagara Falls rule. It's a provincial rule that you can vote for up to 8 people. Some people will go in and see the one candidate that they like. They'll check off the box, and then they're done. Some people will say, oh, I like 2 candidates. I'll check off the 2 boxes. Some people will vote for up to 8 people. So this is where Tony is talking about that we're voting for multiple people. In comparison, if you were in a ward system, your ward might be allowed only 1 person, so you might only have 1 vote, or you might be allowed to vote for 2 people because 2 people are going to be servicing that ward. Tony's bringing up a good point that it gets very difficult when you're voting at large, because people can, when you vote for the mayor, you vote 1 time. When you vote for councillors, you could vote up to 8. You don't have to, but you could vote up to 8.
Is that is the way the system they do it, the way they're doing it, is that, does it make it more challenging to get new faces on there, or does it actually make it easier?
It makes it more challenging to get new faces, and in that large system, just to begin with, it's hard to get in on city council, because if you have over 30 people running, it's the top 8 vote getters. There's a lot of things that come into play. Are they the same people that have been there before? Is it name recognition? They've been there, so they have the connections. They know people, and those people will vote for them. There's a lot of things that come into play, so it is very difficult to get on in that large system compared to a ward system. I personally prefer a ward system. I think for a number of different reasons, to get new people on is better, and I think the residents that live within your ward know who to go to when there's a problem. Quite often I'll have a phone call from a resident, you know, I live over on X street, who's my representative? Well, I am, and so are 7 other councillors plus a mayor. So sometimes people don't understand that, and then when you have too many people representing you, who do you go to with your issue or concern?
That's all interesting. A very, very good question, Tony. Thank you for asking that. I hope that you got the answer you were looking for. We're going to wrap things up, but we will be doing this again. So please stay tuned. I'm going to talk with Lori Lococo again. We're going to see what's going on the election with, you know, the trail. Like, what it started when? When did you announce?
May 2nd was the first day that people could file their papers, and I did file on May 2nd.
So every 4 years, it's May 2nd till April 19th?
Usually it's May 1st if it falls on a business day, but it was May 2nd, and then around the middle of August. But the dates change all the time depending on the calendar.
So that's quite a large amount of time to decide whether or not you're going to race.
Yes.
I honestly hope that this helps other people see that maybe they could do this as well. It was a pleasure talking to you, Lori. I think that Sherry's put the social media handles in. She's put everything in. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Sherry. And thank you, Lori. We will talk again soon. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thank you so much, Falynn.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.